sound like right too. It's from this movie called Kapoor and Sons, and yeah, that was a traumatic experience. The experience was actually pretty cool because after the program ended, we were allowed to speak to the people. And one more thing I really learned was that before the program, you see these people, but you're not allowed to speak to them. So you just sort of notice what kind of a person what person would be. And at the end of it, I realized that there were 5 people. A person was a graduate from Penn, from Yale, from Columbia, from Stanford. And I was just shocked to see that there were students who literally graduated and came for this program. Most of their reasons was actually that they took a Buddhist studies class, or they took a class regarding this and actually wanted to try the meditation program themselves. And this is sort of my effort to get you guys to try this out sometime in your lives as well. Yeah.
Can you talk more about the setting that you were in and like the rooms that you'd be in throughout the day?
For sure. So in India, there's a big thing about divide in the sense that the richer people are the ones with more contacts got the nicer rooms, and the ones who just walked into the program got the worse rooms. So this program, I basically knew no one, so I just sort of randomly just walked in, and they assigned me a room with a roommate. So it turns out you can actually get a single room with like an air conditioner and like all these cool services. But yeah, my room wasn't anything like that. It was literally in the corner. It's just like 2 buildings, where one building is the male wing and the other building is the female wing. And there's just this one short garden. And what's really scary about the garden is that there's arrow marks all around it. And that arrow mark is for your direction to walk in, because you cannot walk in the reverse direction, or else you'll probably make eye contact with someone else. So that was pretty scary. At first I was like, what are they making me do? Like literally, I was made to walk in a certain direction. At once it feels like, they're really trapping you into it's like, what are they making you do? But then after one point, you sort of enjoy the process of just not caring about everything else. And I felt like that was pretty cool, because literally there's arrow marks throughout the garden, and the way it's designed is that you make sure you don't actually look at anyone else. And that was pretty cool. The rooms kind of sucked. The reason why I found out is because during a lot of meditation sittings, it's not compulsory to sit. So I used to get bored, so I used to just walk around the place and like randomly sneak into rooms and see what's going on. So that's actually how I found out that there were cooler rooms than mine. Yeah.
Or when you realized you could get through the process?
Sorry?
When did you realize you could get through the process?
That I'll be able to get through this?
Yeah.
Well, TBH, there was no option. Like I can't tell because my sister has done this before me, and I really couldn't have just run away from the system. So it's actually when the technique was introduced. So typically a day used to be, it started at 4 o'clock, ended at 9:30. So at first it was just hard getting in with the schedule and just sort of overcoming what was going on in my head. So by the 4th day, when they really introduced the actual technique, so the first 3 days, guys, is just about observing your breath. It's not even controlling your breath, it's just observing your breath. And that's pretty pissing off for someone who just walked in and they're just asking you to focus on your breath for 3 days. I was like, dude, this is crap, like I'm just gonna get away from here, right? But on the 4th day, they introduced the technique and I'm like, okay, fine, I'm gonna stick around for a couple more days, let's see what happens. And day by day, it progressed, and you started to join the dots together, and that really made more sense. So I guess by the 4th day, I realized that I'm gonna stay and get this done with. And the pile of clothes were getting shorter, so I'm like, might as well get this. Yeah.
When you talked about the music in your head and you started crying and you couldn't talk to anyone about it, what did you do? How did you get over that?
Well, I just cried, kept crying, went to the room and continued crying. Tried to distract myself by reading the boarding pass for the flight that I came, because I had to distract myself with something. I had nothing else to look at, so I just read out the boarding pass, counted the number of zeros, counted the number of A's and B's and just random stuff. And every time I used to count, I used to add up the days and be like, oh, that's the number of days I have left to leave. That's the number of days I have left to leave. That's like a constant tick-tock in my head. But yeah. It was pretty bad. Yeah.
Towards the end, did you feel like you could do more days, or was it like,
no, I wanted
thank God it's over?
I felt like I wanted to get out then. It was like, ooh, this is a nice experience. Let me let this sink in. And maybe later on I'll come back and try to keep practicing it. Back then, of course, I was so influenced by the thing that I was more than willing to stay for a little bit longer, but just after I checked my IB results, because like that wasn't going away. Also, since that was like the key to me coming to Berkeley or not, so I had to check. Yeah, but I'll definitely be doing this again. I'm not sure for how much longer, but yeah, one should definitely do this more than once, just to keep it going in their lives. Yeah. Yeah, you can go and then you. Yeah.
So I'm curious, food is also a temptation, so what did you do for food?
Yeah, so food was 2 meals. You get breakfast at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and lunch is 11:30. Those are the times you get food. You don't like it, you don't like it, you like it, you like it. You're not allowed to get food from outside, but like people cheat and stuff, but I didn't know anything about it. So essentially what I had to do was start to really find that one piece of food, one article of food that I really liked, and I'm like, okay, fine, I'm looking forward to that the next day. But then towards when you start to understand the technique and everything, you start to be indifferent about everything. And one of the biggest things that I actually changed about myself was that I was very picky about my food back then. But through this program and going through this experience, I'm much less choosy about my food, and even about the act of having food. Like if I'm not having a meal, I'm fine with it. It might not be good for me, like for my body, but personally, I'm not that picky about food anymore. Yeah.
Through your experience and who you are now, tell me like how does it affect your decisions? Like what is it from that experience that you still use now?
Yeah. So whenever someone talks shit about me, I really don't feel bad about them after the first day. I used to be a person that kept grudges, and you really used to be like, nah, when the next time this guy comes, I'm gonna like beat the shit out of him. So, but I obviously never could, but the emotion used to always be there. But now that emotion never stays either. Because through this technique, you sort of understand that when one person comes and says something to you, it's not more so your fault, but their misery. It's their reason for saying this. So a very interesting thing that they said about the whole thing about how do you react to situations and stuff in life is the fact that for example, if I put someone in the room right now and get 10 people in and ask for their opinions, everyone's opinions are different. Does that make the person what their opinions are, or is the person as they are? And by that I'm trying to say is that we're never really reacting to the person, but to the image that we create of that person in our heads. And once I started to realize that, I sort of disembodied my image with the actual person and what they're saying with who they are. And once you're able to do that, it starts to help you just work with your problems on your own and just sort of look into yourself and see, okay, what's going on? Is this really my fault? What's going on? Things like that. And on most occasions, you'll just start to react much lesser. You might still be paranoid and stuff about things, but it's not going to be reflected as much in your actions and as much in your actual work and daily lives. Yeah.
My question was interesting is that it was more like you mentioned like there was some form of structure, but there was also a lot of unstructured time. So I was wondering if you could elaborate on like how like they kind of had you like meditate for 10 hours and then.
Yeah. So practically the entire day consists of just meditation sessions, but 3 meditation sessions in a day were compulsory, and those were the sessions where they used to teach new aspects about the technique, and the rest. So for example, on one day they'll teach you one aspect of the technique, and the rest of the day all you have to do is practice that aspect. So the 3 sessions used to be just teaching those aspects, and the rest of the day you used to have certain chunks of time where you can meditate on your own. And on most occasions, people tried to continue doing that, but a lot of the time, people just used to leave and like go and chill and come back later for the compulsory sessions. I almost never went to the meditation sessions that were not compulsory for the first few days, because I was already tired by those 3 meditation sessions that you had to do. But later on, as you keep doing, you feel like there's nothing else that you want to do than meditation. Because when you're not meditating, you're so bombarded by thoughts. And it's so much better when you're in that state of meditation that lets you stay out of the whole thing. And it just feels much more productive because you're basically unproductive the rest of the time. Yeah.
Do people have different experiences from they might, but like, were there like extremes, like people who came out being the same or people who came out like extremely different?
Yeah, so the ones who did not have a good experience actually left before the course even ended. We started off as a class of 35 students, and we ended up being a class of 27 students. So many people did leave on different junctures of the course. Some left because they thought it was a religious meditation thing and they realized it's not religious, so someone left. Someone left because they weren't liking the food. I'm not even joking, that's an actual reason. Many people left for different reasons. Some people were just so overwhelmed, and some people just had their own thing, so they had to leave. So yeah, those who stuck through it were fine, but I feel like they were also the more serious people. And I haven't personally heard of a very negative experience from when you end the program. Because when you end, you're already so relieved that you're not really caring about how bad the program was or how good it was for you. Of course, it was bad for you for the first few days, or for some people, their bad days come later. For some people, it comes earlier. It's just every experience is different. Every person's experience was different. But by the end of it, the major consensus was that people were much more calmer and much more relaxed about everything. Yeah.
So, was Vipassana like born with Jainism, or are these like separate things? And if it isn't, what's like the history of this?
The technique?
Yeah.
Yeah. This has nothing to do with Jainism at all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This is actually the teachings of Buddha, and Buddha introduced this as actually just a way of solving stuff in life, and like this is what you gotta do to fix yourself. But people like us commercialized the hell out of it and created religions. We created all these belief systems with all these rites and rituals and all these different things that have the same root cause, that have the same basis or foundation for it. But now we are so lost in this whole world of, oh, you do this and this happens, you do this and that happens, that we're actually lost about the true, genuine technique. And Vipassana meditation was lost for so many years, but it was conserved in a very small population in Burma. Burma is Myanmar, it's just to the east of India. And so Satyanarayana Goenka, he has now passed away. He was the one who sort of went to Burma and learned this technique and realized that, oh wow, this is something that needs to be taught, and it got introduced again. Believe it or not, there's actually a small room that's a Vipassana center in Berkeley as well. There's Vipassana centers all around the world. The biggest one in the Bay Area is Santa Clara. They have a meditation center there. And yeah, so the history for this thing is essentially that these were just teachings of the way to live life, and people who interpret it in different ways created their own different systems. So Buddha and Mahavir, one of the people who sort of spread the Jain beliefs, were almost contemporaries, and it's almost said that they both were saying the same thing at just different locations. And I really don't care about what the past was, but more so the universality and the timelessness of the technique that really, really got me. Because I'm like, dude, this was introduced years and years ago, and it still works. So there's something about it that really clicks. And it was nothing of a religious nature. It's nothing to do with afterlife. It's nothing to do with God. It's nothing to do with anything of that sort. It's just to do with you, your body, what's inside, and what you feel. And that's something that I found was really cool.
Can you maybe tell a little bit more about the specific technique that's possible? Like how it differs from like other forms of meditation?
Yeah. I cannot reveal too much about the technique because we're like made to sign that we're not allowed to teach it. But what I can tell you is that other meditation techniques ask you to either think of an image of something, or they ask you to constantly repeat a certain phrase, or constantly repeat a certain pattern, or something, or some mantra, or something like that, that allows you to calm yourself down. All that's great, but that just solves what's on the surface level of your mind. It really gets you calm, but it never really solves the deep-rooted issues that are inside. And this technique really sets that apart because it has no things that talk about. It does not ask you to picturize or visualize anything inside your head, because all that's doing is clouding what's already there. And that's one thing that really differentiates this technique with the other. And the initial part of the technique, which is to observe breath, is very similar to many other meditation techniques. But the actual observation of sensations of your human body and the way they make you do it is what really set this meditation experience apart. And just the pagodas and stuff, the experience is pretty awesome. So the photo that was, this is actually the meditation center that I was at. This is known as the Global Vipassana Pagoda, which is right outside Mumbai in India. And we only got to meditate here for one day, but there was like 2 buildings right on the left. Right on the left of this, where we were actually asked to to the whole course. It would have been pretty cool if we actually got to do it here. But there's a mini pagoda right there, where we were actually. And most of the course was, meditating in like just regular halls, big halls. And towards the end of the course, they allowed us to go inside meditation cells. So the pagoda is actually uniquely designed. And there's some concept of cosmic energy or something like that that makes this experience more enhanced, which I genuinely don't understand yet. But what they did was they assign you like a cell. And see, this is just the whole prison ideology. It's literally, they call it a cell. It was pretty scary. They just assign you a cell, and you're allowed to go meditate at any time in that cell. It's like this little small cubicle, like 3 to 4 square feet, and you just have like a cushion there, and you just sit there and meditate. What's really amazing is that you can literally not hear anything. It's like pitch silence, like it's pin drop silence. You're not going to be able to hear anything, which is pretty cool because you realize genuinely, you're like, oh dude, I'm in the zone now. And yeah, it was pretty cool meditating there. Yeah.
Sorry. How did you like deal with all the? So you said you don't cloud your mind with you like face those things and stuff like that. So how do you do that? Do you like actively think about it, and when you do, what is it like?
Yeah. So what best thing about this is you actively think about nothing, and the only thing you actively do is observe what's coming, and just observe it. So it's coming, it's probably going to go because we're never thinking about the same thought continuously. So it comes, you observe it with complete equanimity, and it will pass. Something else will come up, it will pass. The same thing might come back again. All you do is just let it pass. And after you start letting things pass, your mind is now trained to not react whatsoever. And one by one, they're not going to come up. Because we're always going in the past and future, that the mind is not even used to dealing with what's happening in the present. So no matter how many times people say, oh yeah, live in the present, dude, live in the moment, there's a deep-rooted reason for that. It's because our mind is not trained to live in the present. We're always thinking about, oh, this is what I have to do next. Like I'm literally thinking about my CS midterm that's next week. Or you think about what happened in the past, about what someone said to you or what happened, or oh, that Suits finale was great, or whatever, right? So you're never actually thinking about what's happening in the present. And once you start to train your mind to do that, is when these sort of problems start to clear out. It sounds all preachy and like pretty over the top at this point, but it's more so experiential. When you start to experience it, you'll realize what I'm trying to say.
Can you explain a little bit more about the process of observing the sensations in your body?
I'm not allowed to say that. That's the exact thing.
Can I ask you why you're not allowed to say that?
They say that the technique, so for example, just a simple example of this is when religious systems were formed, people said one thing and it's like a game of Chinese whispers, it just turns into something completely different. So what they're trying to say is that if I reveal the technique to someone, it's not like a big secret or anything like that. It's just if I say the technique to someone, they might start to practice it wrongly. And it's not going to give you the same effects, and then you're going to give negative reviews about the technique. Or you're just going to be like, oh yeah, like I tried this but it's not working. Well, it's not, dude, it's because I'm not trained to teach you this. And so that's why they really ensure that someone doesn't go out and teach, and you have to be certified. And to be certified is actually a pretty long process.
Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Stick around if you have any more questions for Sparsh afterwards, but thank you so much, Sparsh. That was awesome.